Thank you for having us. My name is Cole Glenwright. I'm with the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. I'm joined this evening by Chris McSwain with the California Department of Resource Recycling and Recovery, better known as CalRecycle. We're going to speak tonight about an update on the Campfire State Hazard Tree Removal Program. There's a lot going on with the program, so we're excited to be able to give you an update tonight. We're going to go through a little background on the project, the stages it moves through. We're going to talk through some of the milestones and successes we've seen on the project, and then we'll answer some frequently asked questions. So to start, like a number of the projects discussed tonight, the Hazard Tree Removal Program is principally federally funded. So we wanted to talk through first our federal eligibility and the funding side. This project is driven on an infrastructure protection basis. So trees are primarily eligible if they threaten roads, public roads, private roads, or other infrastructure. You probably recall from earlier community meetings, we do include private roads in this program. That was a significant change from federal policy that they were able to see the light with us there and bring private roads in. So that's our general eligibility. That's where we're working toward. There's essentially, at a high level, two scopes to this project, and we'll talk through in detail what goes into both of those and where we are on both of those. But there's essentially an assessment phase scope and then a removal phase scope. It's important to realize that these are separate, and they are done by separate contractors. They're essentially going concurrently at this point, but they are discrete lines of effort. Go to the next slide here. Okay, so at a high level, this is the stage a parcel moves through in our process. Site-specific conditions can mean that different steps may happen on different properties depending on the sorts of trees or the conditions you have, but at a high level, we see properties go through these stages. The project starts with enrollment. Folks submitted rights of entry through Butte County that were transmitted over to the state of California. We've received the universe of those at this point. Enrollment is closed now. It closed at the beginning of the year. They then go into an assessment and survey phase. We assess each tree individually. A certified arborist holding a tree risk assessment qualification makes that assessment. We also perform surveys by biologists and archaeologists to make sure we're respecting the natural environment and complying with those federal environmental requirements. Properties then go into the felling and clearing stage where licensed timber operators or contractors fell and remove the trees. That happens over a couple stages. Generally, you may see different crews come onto your property over a short time frame there to fell the trees, manage the wood, chip some of the slash on site, things like that. The wood is then transported off. They're primarily using debris trucks to remove the wood. So if you see the large trucks moving around town with the HTRP logo on the side, those are trucks that are removing the timber. They're taking them to reuse. All of the material is going to local facilities, primarily here in Butte County from the town of Paradise. So we're seeing that be reused locally. And then each property goes through the final sign-off process, which is essentially our quality control at the end. A state representative, someone from my team, does walk each property. They confirm the contractor completed their scope of work. If there's additional work that needs to be done, they make sure that's corrected before we sign the property off there. Right. We'll talk next about some of the program milestones. This project has, like a number of the projects discussed tonight, been going on for some time and has a little bit to go. Certainly the hazard tree removal aspect of recovery was contemplated really, from the start of the incident, from the day of the fire. But as we got into around October 2019, we really started to see some progress there. That's when enrollment began, right around near the end of the structural debris program. ROE centers opened in both the town and county areas. They later transitioned only to virtual enrollment due to COVID-19, as we're all familiar. And that enrollment phase, as you can see, continued while the state and federal government worked together to establish that eligibility, make some of those critical decisions we talked about, like the inclusion of private roads, and while we worked to procure those contractors. In August 2020, we saw assessments begin, so that was a big milestone. That was the first field work we had on the project. At peak, we had 40 to 50 arborists working on the project. And so that line of effort continues. We'll show where we are on that in a second. But in November of 2020, we had another significant milestone. That's when tree felling actually began. That work began both in the town and county at exactly the same time. And those are separate contractors, one working in the town and one working in the county that are processing and removing those trees. In December 2020, at the end of the year there is when enrollment ended. Of note, this is the longest running ROE process in the state's debris removal program's history. In total, we had over 8,500 property owners sign up, which we're really proud of the work our local partners were able to do to keep folks engaged, even as we went through this pandemic, to get folks signed up. So we're happy to see a significant number took advantage of the program. And we are now fully into operations. As of February of this year, we're at past the 30% tree removal mark. We'll show you where we are currently, but we're tracking those milestones there as we go. Slide here. So this one's a little difficult to see, but this is where we are presently. So you can see the first graph where we're at 98% complete. That's the assessment that we talked about with the arborist assessing the trees. So we are substantially complete with that line of effort. Some of that work will continue as we move additional parcels from phase to phase, things of that nature. But we're substantially into the tree removal line of effort. You can see presently we're at 35% complete. So we're seeing that click through there. We're seeing efficiencies increase as we increase crews and things of that nature. Total, we've got 13,534 trees removed out of the 38,625 trees identified. Now, these statistics are specific to the town of Paradise. Obviously, the universe, including the unincorporated county areas like Concow, Magalia, communities in Lower Butte, is larger. Our general percent complete statistics are right around the same mark, though, in terms of percentages. So I'll turn it next to Chris, who's going to speak through some frequently asked questions about the project. Thank you.
It's an honor to address you and share some of the questions that we get a lot and help bring you kind of up to date on some of the things that people are wondering about. So the first slide, one of the questions we get frequently is about who is going to be coming to your property. Countercycle has been doing this, not specifically trees, but wildfire recovery for over 14 years. Our expertise is managing contractors, making sure that they are compliant with all laws and regulations and that they follow the rules according to what your local expectations are as well as state and federal rules. And so there's a lot of people involved. Now, you're not going to see 20 people on your property while the trees are coming down. As Cole suggested, it's multiple phases, but you'll have arborists, foresters, plus people, OSHA, which we don't even have on the list, but OSHA may come by to make sure that worker safety is followed. And so all of them are about making sure that these trees are taken down properly. One of the things I want to hit on, and just because it's so important what Cole said, is our arborists and our tree cutters work for separate companies. They don't work together, and the company that employs the arborist will be on hand when the trees are cut to make sure that everything is done according to that arborist assessment and to make sure that check and balance is there. Plus we have state staff to go ahead and follow through on that process. So it's very important to make sure that there are enough eyes on the program to make sure things are done properly. Next slide. Will I be notified about tree felling on my property? Yes, you will. Initially, we had talked about a 24 to 48 hour notice. We have expanded that. One of the things we found is that if we give property owners a little bit more time to respond and we get a hold of you, it actually picks up the efficiency of the program and makes the program run better. So this is going to be better for property owners. You'll get a little bit more notice when we're going to be there, but also gives our contractors the time to make sure that they're deploying to that site efficiently and can move through the process as quickly as possible, which we know everybody cares about. Next slide. We've gotten questions about whether marked trees that have fallen before our timber operators have gone there, whether those will be removed. Originally, we have had to tell people no, but we have heard from your local officials, we have heard from property owners, and we have looked back to the contract and talked to our contractors, and we will now be removing those trees. Now, we may be coming back for some of them because we have moved on, but if a tree that has been marked by an arborist as being a danger to the right-of-way, if all or a portion of it has fallen before it was cut down, we will take care of that. I want to also mention that whether it's somebody being on your property, by the way, you should see that HTRP sign in their vehicle. If you have questions, we fully support your reaching out. Now, the best way to do this is through the Paradise Tree Advocates, but be your own advocate. And if you have a question about that, if you feel like a tree has fallen and we missed it, please reach out. That's the way this program works. We are responsive to the town and to the community, and so we want to make sure that we're able to respond to any of those requests. So feel free to let us know if you have concerns about anything. So you can reach out to the Paradise Tree Advocates, but you can also find more information on ButteCountyRecovers.org. One of those things you'll see there is an interactive map that lets you put in your address, and you can find out what the status is on your property, as well as your neighbors. Let's be honest, we kind of like to see what's happening community-wide. So that's a good tool to use. And I think, did I get it all there, Cole? Okay. I think we're handing it off now to Dana Gaida with the Hope Plaza project.